Hey guys, so we're trying something new today. If you let us know what you think about the new format, this might be a thing, might not. So yeah, let me know in the comment section. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. I got a Sango Funko. This was cool. This was cool. We're never getting a Moroku one. I don't care. I'm not getting a Moroku one if it comes out. But either way, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about DC's Night Terrors. Why we're standing at this angle, I don't know. We're trying something new. Might work, might not. I haven't made up my mind yet. But either way, haven't quite made up my mind about this event either. So it all kind of works out. So anyway, Night Terrors is this sort of how to describe it. Look, I want you to think of an event you didn't ask for a story that you were kind of invested in, that decided to just screw the rules, do it anyway, and let's stop everything. That's what this is. So this is a story by Joshua Williamson, taking place relatively after the events of Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. And the whole premise is one dude is really, really upset that during some whole DC mess, as you do at DC, the Justice League keeps coming back to life, but his family's still dead. And I'm like, you know what? That is a fair reason to hate the world. Not gonna lie. Okay? Granted, I think Ted Kord's still alive. Alright. So, he decides to use, find this thing called the Nightmare Stone to give everybody nightmares. Everybody across the whole world. Night terrors, if you will. Okay? And so then, the whole premise here, using Deadman and really just Deadman, Batman, and Zatanna. Somewhere, Zatanna's out here doing something. And other members of the League, they're trying to stop him as he becomes the enemy known as Insomnia. There's a lot of energy for a dude named Insomnia. But anyway, let's talk about the pros of this book here. If you're a fan of, say, obscure characters leading events, okay, technically, Deadman here, Boston Brand, is an obscure character in DC. He kind of is. Like, he has a presence, but no one ever goes, oh boy, Deadman has a book, let's go look at this. No. He has his fans, to be sure, but, you know, Joshua Williams sort of like, let's use Deadman for this. And there's some joy to that if you're a fan of Deadman. The problem is, though, for the most of this book, though, if you don't like Deadman, you're just kind of SOL. He occupies the body of Batman for his entire story, and the hilarious part of this is, as Batman is about to fall asleep, because he's Batman, he has a way like, okay, you know what, I'm going to enter this sort of state where I'm not going to fall asleep, and he's trying to come back, but Boston's still possessing his body. Also, Wesley Dodds comes back, the Sandman. I'm like, okay, cool. I like that. I like Wesley Dodds. I like the Sandman thing. Really cool. I'm not the most well versed in him, but I like the design. I need to go somewhere. And really, the last time he mattered was what? Earth 2 Society? That sequel to the Earth 2 book that people liked and then fell off because World's End was kind of crap. And then Convergence happened, and all of a sudden Earth 2 was super important, but whatever. So, there's that. We've got some fun little characters who we don't normally see are back in this event. But we keep getting more and more of this mystery. Now, to be fair, the tone of this book is consistent. It's very dark, it's very atmospheric. The whole thing is, every time you turn around, some other horror scene is happening. Like, look at Red Tornado. Look at my boy Red Tornado. Look at him. Look how they massacred my boy. They took his head off. Meanwhile, what are the rest of our characters doing? Well, you know how I said everyone's having like nightmares or night terrors? Yeah, that's happening. And by happening, I mean every important book you were reading at DC stopped for 2 months to do a Night Terrors tie-in, to do 2-part Night Terrors tie-ins. Action Comics, Superman, Batman, Detective Comics, Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, or the Green Lantern book by Philip Kennedy Johnson, on its 2nd issue, stops everything to do this Night Terrors tie-in. So which means it seemed kind of mandatory. Hawkgirl didn't have a Night Terrors tie-in, and that book could use something interesting. Okay, let's see here. Who didn't? Someone else didn't. Superboy didn't. And granted, Superboy's like a 6-issue book, and he was like issue 4. I figured, like, look, either let me do 2 more issues or leave me out of this. Maybe. Possibly. Who knows? The problem with that was, if you liked where these stories were going, You then had to stop for 2 months to not read this, or you had to read one like getting back to my actual story. Now, to the credit of this, some writers have used this sort of jump spring off into their own books. Like, hey, we're going to use it as an event, kind of tie it into our bigger story, and go from there. Chip Zdarsky is doing that for his Batman book. He's using that as a springboard, or sort of like a reason as to why Batman is in the state he's in, to some extent, for his upcoming event, Batman Catwoman Gotham War, which I read the prelude to that, and it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild. I'm not sure who's to blame for this somewhat stupid idea, but whatever. Now, as the event itself, as I said, it's got great atmosphere. It's got great art. Both books, I don't like that the art changes from book to book. Stop doing that. Stop. All right? Just find one artist. Say, look, we got 6 to 5 issues here. You're going to do all those issues. All right? Look, I don't care what else you got planned. It throws off the tone. Now, granted, this book tries to keep a consistent tone with the art. Everyone's doing their best, but it's still a bit distracting. And at the same time, the mystery as to why he's doing this, as to why Insomnia is doing what he's doing, it isn't bad. But at the same time, it just doesn't really keep your attention. This is primarily because we, the readers, find out as to why Insomnia is doing what he's doing pretty quickly. Alright? Pretty quick. There's not much to it. I think the real meat of the story lies in the tie-ins. We saw the same thing with, say, Lazarus Planet. Which apparently this also ties into somewhat. So, there's that, to be sure. But at the same time, I have to wonder, could the story have been told a bit tighter? Because you should never have an event that says you need to read the tie-ins. Okay? Now, to DC's credit, DC has had a lackluster record with events lately. Alright? You don't quite know where they're going with their big continuity, their big stories. DC essentially doesn't have a problem with its sort of major events. That's sort of me misspeaking there. What they have a problem with is sort of sticking to it. And by this I refer to, of course, DC Rebirth. DC Rebirth was its own sort of thing. It was supposed to address issues set up by New 52, explain things like the Flashpoint Paradox, and expose the giant blue naked man that's behind all of this. But that was supposed to be Doomsday Clock. And then we were supposed to go into something like Future State. And remember, all of this kind of didn't happen. Alright? Doomsday Clock ended up being just something that happened. It was essentially replaced by Scott Snyder's Death Metal, which Scott Snyder didn't intend for that to be Death Metal's purpose. It was just supposed to finish off Dark Knight's Metal, like tie in those things. So then, after that, we go into what's supposed to be Future State. Future State didn't happen in pretty much any form that it was supposed to happen, my understanding is. And then that led to Dark Crisis on Infinite Earth trying to pick up all these small pieces and trying to shove them into something else. So the question is, will this momentum stay? If you're new to these sort of events, you don't really feel there's any problem. Okay, cool, this event. If you're like most long-form readers, like, okay, let's see if they'll stick the landing this time. They probably won't. Because also we're addressing issues of continuity when most fans don't have this problem. Most fans do not have problems with the whole continuity of the DC universe. They figure it out on their own. Alright? Half the time, they'll all go with pretty much the same rule for canon. Is it good? It is? It happened. There we go. Was it bad? I don't count it. Didn't happen. No. That is pretty much it in a nutshell in terms of that. So, again, in a vacuum, I think this event is fine. In terms of the bigger story it's telling, I would say it's doing a decent job in the same way that DC Rebirth was doing a decent job. We're seeing these pieces here. This story essentially ends with Amanda Waller saying, well, we're going to capitalize on this new hatred of superheroes because that is essentially what Insomnia's plan is. Give everyone nightmares of superheroes so they hate superheroes and go from there. Waller, who ended Crisis on Infinite Earths, was, you know what? We all realize they're terrible, right? Like, I've been saying this for years, but you get it, right? Alright, let's mess them up. So, we're going that. We saw that in Green Arrow, with Amanda Waller playing a role in what's going on there. We see it again in the Titans book with Tom Taylor, and Amanda Waller using Peacemaker to lay down the law with those guys. So, we're seeing this story happen. The question is, did we need this big a story for it? I do not know how this can work. Do we need this big a story for it? Actually, that looks really good. One more time. This big a story for it. Ooh, really good, really good. Hope you all like that. So then the question stands to be, will this stand the test of time? In the bigger tapestry that is the dawn of DC, will this work? I think if it lands, or if it's just alright, readers will not care that 2 months of stories they were interested in didn't happen, because most writers did try to organically weave them in, as opposed to stopping everything to tell this story. On the same line, though, if we don't see any real pushback from this, any real sort of initiative or story going forward, let alone the events of those Night Terrors events, it's just going to fall apart. It just is. So really, what is Night Terrors? Night Terrors is a way to get you to read other books. I think that's kind of it. Like, hey, did you like this event? Well, the real meat of this story is going to be in the tie-ins. Like, the real stuff, the real gabagool, huh? You know, the meatballs in the spaghetti, huh? That's the Night Terrors, alright? The actual book is the spaghetti. Like, the real meat, the good stuff, the meatballs, all the tie-ins. They're not even really tie-ins for the most part. But this story does sort of show you, hey, these characters are all coming in now. Hey, Batman, where were you? I was in a very weird story. Not that weird. But, yeah, me seeing my parents die. Yeah, it's my thing. I'm over that. Punchline, where were you? I think I died. I think I'm legit gone now. That was weird. Hal Jordan, where were you? I did not know I was Jewish. I didn't know. Like, did I forget that part in the Dark Side War tie-in? Did I just not get that Hal's Jewish? I'm not against it. I just didn't know that it was Catholic. There's a big difference. Let's see here. The Robin one was actually, I felt really nice because we saw Tim and Jason sort of once again attempt to patch things up. Like, people think Damian and Tim fight a lot, or Damian and Jason fight a lot. Damian's job is to fight Jason or Tim when Jason and Tim are not able to fight each other. That's pretty much it. Nightwing has some crazy issues apparently with his girlfriend. I don't know. Like, the problem with these sort of tie-ins, with these nightmares, you have to want to know what they're afraid of. You have to want to know where these characters are, and hopefully where they are going forward. Considering what's coming with Batman, I wonder if I should have read not just Nightwing, but also if I should have read Catwoman. She had a Night Terrors tie-in. So maybe, but I don't know. All I know is for 2 months, Charles, there's no Charles in here, I don't know why I said that, I could not read other books, alright? Like, I didn't care about Shazam, or I don't know why Mary Marvel all of a sudden matters to this story, about Billy being too afraid to say the word. Like, I get it to an extent, but I didn't need that to happen, alright? Wonder Woman's was, like, semi-alright. They're trying to set up the Tom King status quo, and really, if those tie-ins are there to do that, I think we've got something good here. But on itself, this event is just sort of, this could have been a Justice League mini-event. Alright, probably could have cut this down by 2 issues and called it a day. Alright? That's my 2 cents on it. Does that mean it's bad? No. Because it's supposed to be part of a bigger tapestry, you tend to view it differently. You want to say, okay, this is one part of a bigger story. In itself, I think this story is fine. As a matter of fact, I think it would be better suited for Halloween, which is what everyone who heard about this event was saying to begin with. Like, nightmares, demon possession, people losing their lips. Should have been for Halloween, shouldn't it? What? We're not doing that? Alright. Not my company. Alright. So I think that's always been the big idea. Like, this tone feels something more seasonal, if you would. If you want an event that's just sort of like, hey, it's here, it's fun, it's simple. As it stands now, it's not that groundbreaking. I'd give it a look. If you want something with a bit more meat to it, I think you might have to wait and see what comes from this, because there are references to other books, or past events, by the time we get to the end of this particular story, i.e. Amanda Waller cannot be trusted, which you should all know if you've read any DC comic book. Or just even watch the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. Like, there's no way you trust Amanda Waller. Alright, Amanda Waller is like the 7th Doctor, Kisuke Urahara, Kurama, like, but just not a good person at all. Like, those 3, yeah, I go to the bat for those 3. Amanda Waller? Nah, I am not. So anyway, that is it. What you guys think of this new format? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do I need to, like, pick a direction and stick with it? I kind of like this angle. Look a bit thinner. I don't know. Maybe we're just going to die. Anyway, with that in mind, which brings to a close. If you are new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe to all the fun algorithmic things, and I will catch you all later. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.